Hey everybody, welcome to part 6 of Build Your Own Dragon. Um, give you an overall look of what I got going on here. I did some fins, I'll show you how I got them done, and I did some scales down the side, just to give you an overall look before you see how I did it in time lapse. I started to do the fins by putting a bead of just a piece of square polymer clay out of the extruder down the center of the back, and I did all the cutting off camera. It was a lot of guesswork, so I figured I didn't want to include it in my video. But I slowed this part down so I could show you how I'm wrapping these. It's the second to the smallest setting on the pasta machine. Number 2 on the one I have. And just wrap those, and I'm kind of just eyeballing it how whatever looks right to me, going down the back of it, of the dragon. Then I add 2 blue snakes down the sides of it, or logs, and kind of press it too. Those fins are really embedded this way. They're not going to go nowhere. And I didn't really like it. Then after I started detailing it, I was like, wow, yeah, I really like this. Kind of looks like grass growing on the back of it. I'm making these for my scales. Here I'm using the clay extruding tool. It's the square bit, and I take my self-centering roller down, and I'm cutting exactly 1/2 inch pieces, and because it came out of a tool and I didn't make these by hand, all these pieces should be, pretty close to being exactly the same. This is very important if you want to make scales that are very uniform. And to condition these clays, I just roll them into a ball till they're really smooth, and then from there I teardrop them, turn them into teardrops, and I put them onto the sculpture. When you put these on, these scales, you want to push it to it and then drag the small part of the teardrop up. And when you push them together, you want to make sure there's no gap in between. The less you have gaps in between, the easier it is for the next row to go on. You'll see what I'm talking about. But I make sure I'm all the way to the bottom, starting on the first row. The first row is pretty self-explanatory. There's not really much going on there. I made me a storyboard on my self-centering roller using tape and clay, because I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I just put my first row on, and I'm actually spacing these apart by exactly 1/2 an inch. So what I just did is I cut 1/2 an inch off of the storyboard, and that's going to show me where my mark is going to go on for the next row. And I place my mark in between each scale, like so. Being uniform and using measurements like this will make it look very consistent, and that's what you're wanting. And when I put the scales on, you want to press them on like I did on the first row, and you want to push them down to where they just barely cover that hole. And then you just keep repeating the process again and again until you get all the way to the top. Basically 2 rows equals 1 inch. Take your time. Try not to rush yourself. I've actually filmed the whole process of all the scales on one side of this dragon, which is pretty cool. You could change some of the things that I've done, like as far as how much clay I'm using, how far I'm spacing them apart. Like if you wanted to do 3/8, you could actually mark. I recommend you doing the storyboard thing. That way you could just cut off the sections that are not so common. Using half inch increments is kind of like almost cheating. It's easy. I'm going with the easy method. I mean, I could do smaller scales and uh, a lot more complex. You know, you could actually remove certain amounts of clay using that method. Just cutting, like, instead of cutting half-inch long pieces, do, you know, minus 1/8 or 32nd even. That's it. I really appreciate y'all for watching this, and I'm gonna take a little break from this dragon series. That way I can do smaller things, more of a variety, and kind of switch it up a little bit, because this is a very, very big project, this dragon, and I could show you some things that are a little bit quicker. Like I want to show you how I made the frog to the contest I'm doing right now and everything. Once again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to comment, and until next time, have a good day.